heat the texture of your hair? Who taught you to heat the color of your skin?
Video with at least one friend. We do appreciate the cooperation in advance. I know Sam Man you have one or two.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about Will Smith. So I dropped yesterday on IG. I dropped this to you actually. That Will Smith looks like he will be playing another role, that being Richard Williams in the biopic King Richard. Now, if you don't know who Richard Williams is, that is the father of Venus and Serena Williams, the legendary tennis sisters that just did absolute damage throughout the 90s, 2000s, and beyond. What do you think about that initially before I go further? Will Smith. Now, we talked about Will Smith a number of times on this podcast, especially recently, it seemed like. Yeah. And as much as we admire Will Smith and we looked up to Will Smith during his movies and we have a respect for his body of work, he's taken some criticism in the last couple of movies, couple of years, that he hasn't taken on any powerful roles. So when I saw this break, I was very excited to see it. So I want to get your thoughts on this initially.
Yeah, I'm real excited to see it. You know, I know you mentioned earlier there was a little bit of backlash and criticism for him, but ultimately I think it's going to be actually a great role, you know, for Will Smith. You know what I mean? Especially doing the story on now, is it about the Venus Williams sisters, right?
It's actually about the father.
Oh, it's about the father.
His journey.
Oh wow,
he went through how he had to teach himself, and I haven't seen the script, but I know that he had to teach himself how to play tennis, gain the discipline for it, and then through that, toward his daughters. But you obviously have to know what he went through throughout the age of him growing up, so they're going to tell his story.
Cause we remember, man, because we got the privilege of actually watching them when we were young, and they were a little bit older than us. We got to watch them since they was like 15 and 16, maybe even younger than that.
Right from the beginning.
You know what I mean? And watch them progress all the way up to now. We're in our mid-30s, now, and they're still on the top of the game. But we always seen Richard. Richard there, who's this, this dark-skinned brother, in the corner, but coaching them, aiding them and pretty much molding them, into the women that they are today. Real dope, man.
It was. And when we seen Richard, it was crazy because he looked scary, but he also looked like one of our uncles sitting here with our grandfather having a conversation, Uncle Benny or somebody, you know what I mean? So it was somebody that you resonated with, but he did not do much interviews. He did not play with the media. He wasn't portrayed very highly in the media. So a controversial figure, because you know how they feel about strong black men out here. But let me transition this a little bit, because the conversation got a little deeper, oh God, to just have it being a positive thing. Will Smith finally taking on a role that can have some substance to it. We're looking forward to this. He's getting a little bit of flack for it, man. He's getting a little bit of criticism, and maybe for a reason that you're a little surprised about. Colorism. They're saying that they have a problem with Will Smith because he is light-skinned, playing a role of Richard Williams, who happens to be dark-skinned. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's silly. Like I said, we talked about it earlier in the pre-production. I think it's silly, man. I think, it's stupid. That's all I can really say about it. I don't know who's saying that. Probably nobody credible. I mean, he's a black man. He can play the role.
And come on, man. And that's the problem. And it's a real problem. And it's sad because we're putting that on ourselves.
Right.
Like, okay, could Denzel Washington play Richard Williams? Absolutely. Are there a number of other black actors could have done a great job? Absolutely. But are you going to sit here and tell me with an honest face, with an honest voice, that anybody's going to do a better job than Will's going to do?
Right.
Train that. He's one of the top actors, black actors that we have. Now, when I look at colorism and I think about colorism, I 100% agree that there's a lot of colorism that's being played in society. But then I look at the Oscar winners, and I look at your Regina Kings, the Ali brothers, Spike Lee, a number of other Oscar winners that came through. Who else won? I'm thinking Hannah Bleacher, a number of other. They're all dark-skinned, dark-skinned people. They're out here being highlighted. They're out here being
the whole cast of Black Panther.
Come on, man. Yeah. All dark-skinned. So we're going to come in a different age where you're starting to see different complexions being just shown in the beautiful realm that they should be shown in. Will Smith, this is going to be a great role for him. And I think the fact that we kind of draw the line with each other between this light skin and dark skin shit, we don't do each other just service. You don't see any Asians going dark skin, light skin Asians. You don't see anybody else doing that kind of shit. We can't do that kind of stuff, man, because it really just adds a further divide to what we already have.
I was saying in pre-production, like when they had, I think it was a movie called The Gods of Egypt. A lot of people were mad about that when they depicted, the Egyptians as white people. A lot of people were mad, and I get that, you know what I'm saying? But when you're talking about, a few different shades, Richard Williams, I think his first name is Richard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, last name is Williams, but come on, man. I think it's just silly. I can't actually wait to see that. I think it's going to be a real good movie.
I'm excited to see that, man. I think that it was I don't know if we kind of foreseen it or what, but we were kind of hoping Will Smith would pick up a role like this.
Yeah,
just like this.
That's fact.
I don't care what he looks like in it. Go ahead and play that role to the best of your abilities, man. And I think everyone out there would appreciate and hear Richard Williams' story and get a whole new respect for him. So I salute it, man, all the way around.
Yes, sir.
For sure, man.
Yes, sir. But you tuned into the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother, Old God, and Sam, man. Going in today, we want to say peace to everybody listening on Google, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this platform. Please do us one favor. Go ahead and share this podcast with at least one other person if you're listening. We do appreciate it in advance. Yeah, man. That's all I got actually over here on my side, Sam, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got one more story real quick. Quick opinion. We see Dave East. He will be playing the role of Method Man. He'll be playing Method Man in American Saga. It's a Wu-Tang movie coming out on Hulu. It's a series coming out. Dave East playing Method Man in that movie. What's your quick thoughts on that, man?
That's gonna be dope. I think he's worthy, you know what I mean, to definitely do that. Dave East, I think he's one of the most underrated rappers, you know, out here right now. And I even slept on him for probably the first couple of years. I was sleeping on Dave East, but when I heard him with Styles P, I was like, man, this dude could really, you know what I mean, do his thing. And in the future, I definitely look forward to seeing what he has, you know, definitely in the music arena.
Yeah. Let me just read a little bit on what Dave East is going to be doing. Dave East will take on Shotgun, the character based on Method Man. Shotgun is described as having a knack for rhymes and takes pride in being the assistant manager at the concession stand next to the Statue of Liberty. He also described as staying above the street war. So it's going to be dope, man. I think he's really going to be able to display his talent, not only in acting, but still in music, or not only in music, but in acting as well. And I'm looking forward to it too, man. Shout out to Davey. Shout out to Wu-Tang. They'll be coming to our city in a couple months, man. June 15th, I'm going to try to get us in there and have a conversation too with them brothers, because that's going to be electric.
Dope.
June 15th. Yeah.
It's going to be dope, man. But yeah, man, another episode of the Uncensored Truth podcast is in the books, man. I want to implore everybody also to go to hiphopun.com when you get a chance. That's our official website. Go over there and check out some of the cool articles, you know, we got going up, you know, over there. Also, stay tuned for the Wake and Bake podcast coming real soon. Y'all want to be dialed in for that one. That one's going to be electric, you know, and fire. And that's pretty much all I got over here on this side, Sam, man.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the Wake and Bake podcast too. They're going to get a whole new side of Sam and oh God, man, it's going to be a whole different perspective from what you see over here at the Uncensored Truth podcast. We're looking forward to that. Make sure you stay tuned for the Thursday edition of the Uncensored Truth podcast, and of course live on Friday evening exclusively on Hip Hop News Uncensored. We will be in the building at 8 p.m. talking to the people, going over this week's hottest topics in hip hop. I'm sure we'll have R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, and more on the radar for that day, man. But yeah, until then, another great show, brother. Oh God, let's get up out of here.
Yeah, we out, man.
Peace.